Hello, and welcome to Life and the Bitter Truth. This is the podcast where we seek to understand the deeper, sometimes painful aspects of life and what it all means to us. I'm Vittorio.
And I'm Alex, and
No.
my dad
All
just
right.
taught me how to use this beat pad thing. Is that what it's called? I'm sorry.
Sound effects.
Soundboard?
Sound effects, yeah, it's a soundboard.
We're still learning.
What's going on? Any updates from the prior week?
This is the first week that I haven't officially been living with you, and it's been
Quiet here.
It's been sad and cold. I've been freezing my ass off because normally you put the heater on, so that's nice. And
Your sister would beg the difference on that one.
Oh, really?
Beg to differ on that one. So whatever.
but it's been good.
Right.
I
Okay.
saw recently in the news, I don't know if you saw, but a couple weeks ago, we talked about Lily Phillips and her experiment of having sex with over 100 men.
Right.
And there is a new girl. I'm sorry, I don't know if she's new, but it's a different OnlyFans girl that beat Lily's record of wanting to do 1,000. She did like 1,060 something. So
1,060?
so mathematically speaking, it was under a minute per person. So
Where is this girl located?
also in the UK.
Also in the UK.
Yeah. So
Something's going on
just
there.
wanted to update you on
Okay,
that.
well, thanks for that update.
Of course. Let's see, what else do I have?
The world's coming to an end.
Seriously. Also, today is Wednesday
Yes.
that we're filming. So news is reporting that, the fires are suspected to be just continuing.
The winds are picking up.
And the winds are picking up. So
Yeah.
continued, thoughts and prayers for everyone in those areas. And the death toll is also rising. So people are unfortunately, finding out about their family members. There's, I think, like 24 people missing.
Yeah. The cadaver dogs are out too as well, I heard.
Yeah. And there was one person, rest in peace, that had passed away holding his cat in his arms that they have, this is just horrible, horrible stuff. But for anyone that is looking for animals, a lot of the shelters are releasing photographs of animals that they've found.
Yeah.
So that's really great that people are at least trying to, we're trying to track down a lot of these things as we kind of begin to heal and continue to fight. So continued
it's
thoughts.
It's tough, and hopefully the recall process will start for the governor of California as well as the mayor of Los Angeles, right?
That's a whole other episode in and of itself, but lots of stuff coming down the pipeline in that regard. And Trump is going to be elected within the next, reelected in the next week. So
he's been reelected. So the inaugural will happen next week, and we'll certainly have a
discussion
about that, which I think there's a lot of positive anticipation, especially for our economy and just general feeling about the country. So positive. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm reading.
in your circles.
In my circles, everyone's circles. So, so there you go. So,
Sounds
what's going on this week?
Well, this week, I really wanted to have an episode kind of dedicated to the elderly people in our family. Looking forward, I want to...
You're not talking about me, are you?
No, I'm not talking about you. Okay. Specifically our grandparents that we still have here, Earthside. And, wanted to talk a little bit about, as they age, how we navigate that together as a family, and you as their children. And, I'm very kind of still very involved with my mom and her care of my grandfather. So kind of wanted to talk about those different things and just talk generally about like the lessons that they continue to teach us.
Sure.
Even in their older age.
Yeah, it's a tough topic because, my parents, my father lived to 94 and his passing was caused by tripping. He fell and hit his head. So that was about 3 or 4 years now back. I can't remember exactly, but so had he not done that, that man wanted to live to 100.
I'm sure he would have.
That was his goal, and he probably would have. He still drove even at 94. I know I was afraid to be in back of him, in front of him, or next to him on the road, but it's the aging, our aging parents. Those are elements of freedom, driving, all that. So after his passing, you stop and wonder about. Like my mother as an example, she is 84-ish or something like that, and my mother all the memories of my mom are just that. She was active, robust in the sense of working out and
Getting up early every morning, blow drying her hair, doing her makeup, the whole outfit, everything.
Big time fashionista as well. So as I've seen her over the last 10 years, not a deterioration, but more so just general aging. We're all getting older,
slowing down a little bit.
So so some of the some of those concerns that that I guess have been coming down our way is I think it started with I'm her IT support. My sister is her information technology support, or what is it, software, I'm hardware. And then sometimes we switch out depending on who's available. So,
right.
And, we'll get a phone call from my mother saying, I don't know why the emails, I can't see my emails anymore. I can't log into this website or that website. And I get
You're
there.
like, plug it in.
And I'll have to tell her, okay, Mom, I can get there, at 4:30 tomorrow, I look at it, I log in, I go, Mom, what are you talking about? It's right there. You can get in, no problems. Well,
it wasn't there yesterday.
The bookmark's not there, or what? I don't know what you're talking about, Mother. I don't know. So
I think
did you put the right password in?
The tech issues skipped a generation on to me because the other day I was, why isn't my computer working? Oh my God. And I just didn't plug it. You didn't charge it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
I don't understand that, but so my mother now, from an aging perspective, she is needing more care, more attention, not care. She's actually fairly healthy, but some of the things that have happened to her just as recent as a month ago, she fell again. This time she chipped her tooth, sprained her wrist, and that was an all-day affair the next day because she was out of sorts the day it happened. She just didn't want to. Didn't want to deal with anything and just was out of sorts. But then I took her to emergency the next day, and that was an all-day event. It was 9 hours in emergency. First urgent care, then emergency. Because she hit her head, they had to do a CT scan, all that stuff. And of course, I had to go. And so my sister came, I think it was about 4:30, and relieved me. And we're in the emergency room, and it's my
everyone's sick in there.
Everyone's sick.
It's nasty.
Your grandmother, it can be extremely comical. We'll sit there and we'll talk about people, not in a negative way or anything like that, but maybe
just commentary.
Maybe some comment. A lot of it's commentary, and it's both in English and in Spanish, depending on who's around us. And then the funniest part about being in an emergency, and that could be a whole podcast in itself.
Oh, true.
Is the day in the life of someone who has to sit in an emergency.
Yeah. That's why it's like, if something's wrong with you, you better just deal with it because you don't want to go to emergency.
We're sitting next to some guy who's just hacking and another guy's burping all the time.
And my grandma, she is a poised, beautiful, elegant woman, and, just decked out completely in her jewels and everything. Right. So to be next to someone that is not as, let's see, what's the best word I can use? Buttoned up, maybe?
Yeah, whatever. Something like that.
It's odd for her.
Well, this person was just burping, and I couldn't pin it down. I actually, I was punchy at that point. So I'm walking around, I'm giving people a stink eye. Who the hell was doing that, Because I wanted to say something. It's just not the way I grew up.
No you would say something.
You can't go burping around. You can't do that in public. It's just, gross. But you got people coming into emergency where one lady came in with a hand that was all bleeding, burned, skin everywhere. I was like, oh my God. And of course, I immediately walk in there. I'm not a big fan of the whole masking thing, but I put a mask on.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm not getting somebody's cooties. Sure enough, 4 days after that or 5 days after that, I was sick. And I've been sick for 2 weeks, I think it was.
You were horribly sick.
Congestion or some upper respiratory problem. Who the hell knows what? But I'm finally over it. But it was a bit of a battle. But my mother and I sitting there for that many hours, we didn't want to go to the bathroom, so we didn't drink any water. And it was just, there was one problem after another problem, and they just take forever. It's not a criticism of the hospital or the nurses or the doctors. They were all wonderful, but it's just the number of people that have to go into that. And so that brings up the issue of, having to deal with my mom, your grandma, and her medical problems. Not medical problems, but her medical appointments. She'll call me up and says, I don't understand something. I go, well, what are you talking about? And I go, why? The doctor told me this and this and this. I go, what? Okay, well, Mom, I can't do this over the phone because I don't understand what the hell you're saying. So I'll go to your next appointment
with you
and talk to the doctor. And of course, it's completely different than what she's expressing.
Yeah.
It's not that she doesn't get it. I think she adds things to the conversation.
Yeah, you add a little flair. I get it for the plot.
And so I've been going to more and more of her appointments. My sister does, and I do. We switch off. And what's funny is, after the couple of appointments, she calls me again, something about her medication, and I'm rattling off the medicine that she has to take at a certain time. Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, how do you remember that? Well, I said, Mom, it's easier to remember when it's not me dealing with it, right? Because when I get into the doctor's office, my girlfriend's going to ask me, well, what'd they say?
You should have been there.
Should have been there. No, I don't say that, but yeah.
But basically, because if you don't write these things down, I forget as well. So,
and there are some doctors that are better than others in the sense of bedside manner or whatever, or they're a little bit better on the communication side. So yeah.
But I have a question for you. How do you deal with news like that? Because I'll say there was one time when we were in the process of moving into our new house, my mom and I and my stepdad, and it was raining outside really bad, and the water was collecting weird in the back, and my mom slipped and fell. Yeah. And oh my God, to see my mom fall like that was just, I could see how in pain she was. Yeah. I could see, when you fall, you feel that embarrassment. You feel like there's so many things. Falling is just, in and of itself, it could be very difficult for someone to deal with. And my mom doesn't fall often. You guys don't fall often, right? Right. And so when she fell and slipped and I heard her knee hit the ground, I thought, oh my God, that's the start of some real issues right there. And I remember she was crying because she was in so much pain. I started to cry because I had never seen my mom in pain like that. Right. How do you deal with news in that way with your mother? Because when I heard that my grandma had fallen again, I'm like, of course, every time something bad happens to our grandparents, my brother and I, we get fucking pissed because we're like, dude, why didn't you guys call us? Why didn't? Right. And your answer is always, we need to deal with it first, and then you guys get that news later.
Your grandma doesn't like to be a burden. So, I know. So how do we deal with it? Well, it's like with everything. Anytime somebody gets injured or falls or whatever, family, or I should say parents and stuff, my mom has been falling a lot over the last, falling and tripping as far as I can. That's been going on for like 5 years.
And is it the heels?
Well, my mom loves to wear wedges and
cute
high
shoes,
heels and cute shoes. She's, like I said, she's a fashionista. But yeah, I mean, that's certainly an element of it. Yeah, my mom, balance. In the last circumstance, she was running to the bank, then running to the gas station. Yeah, and she's not thinking. And I think something happened where she was in thought. And unfortunately, she tripped over the concrete parking stopper and went, boom, face first, And that's the same thing that happened to her sister. Again, another fall, So these are things that happen every single time. There's always something. And my sister gets probably more notified of falls because she'll see something or she goes. My mother lives in the guest cottage behind my sister's house. So my sister has more one-on-one time. So she gets to see these things a little bit more, and then I'll get a phone call. And then I'll call my mother and I go, what happened? So, and
then I'll call her, what the hell?
Yeah. As an example today, she needed to go get some blood work, and I took her early this morning. And first thing I noticed was she's not wearing sneakers. She's wearing wedges again. And the first thing I said to her was, Mom, you're not supposed to be doing that. Right. And she's complaining, I didn't feel like getting, I didn't find the right Socks. Color. No, color. Of her shoes. Because my mother's got sneakers in almost every color imaginable. And the color combination didn't work for her. So she just wore the wedges that best fit the outfit. Again.
The other day side note, the other day she came over probably for another appointment after you guys went to the grocery store together. And I saw her whole fit, so cute, with her rubies and her pink outfit. And she was wearing bedazzled pink sneakers. And I thought, I told her, thank you, Grandma. Thank God you're wearing sneakers today. And she just laughed. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm serious.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. So, we've told her and we've told her and we've told her that she's got to be more attentive,
To her
be more
feet.
aware, and all those things. She still drives, all that good stuff. But just lately, since the last fall, her wrist and her tooth, we've gotten that fixed and all that stuff. But again,
And we get worried too when they're out. You know, I tell her, Grandma, be very aware. You never know. In the news, there are people that are sucker punching elderly all the time, right? And stuff like that. So, I mean, when she fell this last time and I tried calling her and she didn't answer, and she texted me immediately, like, what's up, basically. And I'm like, what do you mean, what's up, girl? Like, answer the phone. And she said, I'm sick. I'm okay, though.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to talk on the phone. So it's like hard because, you know, as the grandchild, as probably one of the closest grandchildren to her, you know, I want her to answer. I want her to answer. I feel like she has an obligation to me, right? To tell me how she feels and all this stuff, but also she's a friggin' human being that she's allowed to have bad days and not answer the phone if she doesn't want to.
No, she does that to everybody. So some days like today, she just wasn't in the mood to wear the right shoes or whatever. But she was in good spirits today. Just, you know, a little frazzled by some of the medication she's having to take for some of the things that she's working through. But you know, some of the biggest concerns we have as my mother keeps aging is, you know, not violence, because we're in Orange County, so for the most part, we just have never experienced that kind of, and no community is immune from that, but we just haven't experienced anything like that, and
or just you know, obviously theft and stuff like that.
Sure.
You know, like I said, my grandma's a little light when she walks into the room, so and with her accent, right? She's very like, she's got this energy to her. Yeah. And, you know, some people, you just never know.
Well, I think that the biggest concern that I've vocalized probably is cyber fraud, right? The willingness to take advantage of the seniors out there, with all kinds of things. And my mother is constantly on the computer. She's got her laptop.
She's a good texter too.
She is good at texting. She's all FaceTime. That good stuff. So she's got her abilities there. But cyber fraud is a real thing, and, you know, bad emails and that kind of stuff. So I'm always telling her, whenever I get a new alert about some fraud that's taking place, I let her know. Don't open emails, you know, because otherwise it's going to screw the computer. Then I'm going to have to sit there and, you know, reformat the computer. So those are the biggest things that I probably convey to her, is just that, is the cyber fraud. But
another thing that she expresses to me that she's constantly disappointed about is just our medical system, and she just says, I go to the doctor, and why even go to the doctor? They never know. I feel like I know more than they do. And I'm like, she's like, what's the point of going to medical school anymore? Doctors back in the day, I lived with my doctor when I was pregnant with your dad, and he took care of me, and doctors, they're not like that anymore. And I'm like, that's true.
There's all kinds of variations or differences now, the way the medical profession works and whatnot. But the reality is, the cost of medicine today, or not just the prescriptions, but the cost of care, is exponentially more expensive. So we have to deal with the whole Medicare.
And I mean, we're extremely lucky too that she's so self-sufficient, where she can live in her own little house and take care of herself. And my tia, bless her heart, does cook for her, and you guys take care of her in that way. But she can literally do these things herself, which is really great. And I think it's definitely like pushed the amount of responsibility, at least time-wise, for you guys to have to take care of bigger things, right? Having to feed, you don't have to force feed her, or
no,
you know what I mean?
No, my mom's, like I said, she's extremely healthy and still active. She'll go out there, and she's got her routines. One of the biggest things she enjoys is kind of horsing around with the dogs.
Oh yeah,
and it's
she loves dogs.
And the problem with that is, two big dogs, they're sometimes circling around her. She could just trip over that. So it's always that
And she's
cautious
a
little
statement, thing. Yeah. And we feel the same way on my mother's side about my grandpa, who, for my whole life, he's 92 years old now. And since you've known him, he's been the contractor, he's been the painter, he's been the plumber, he's done, all the things, and always had a solution to this and that. And here's money for this. And and now he's the one being taken care of, and it's very uncomfortable for him.
Of course. We lose our freedoms.
Yeah. And even just, my mom, he had needed to get up to go to the restroom the other day, and my mom gets up immediately like, "Oh, Dad, do you need help?" And he looked at her like, "No, I can go to the bathroom by myself."
Right.
She's like, "Oh shit, okay."
Yeah.
You know, it's just like this, God, let me be, like, let me still do these things.
It was funny. I just reflective. I think I have a bad lower back, and I remember that your brother and your younger sister, something had happened where my body went right, my legs went left, and I twisted my back, and I think I was in traction. Felt like that. I was in bed for 3 days where I couldn't even move. It was that painful. I couldn't go to the bathroom either because it was just that painful. And I remember your brother not lifting me up, but for the most part, walking me to the bathroom very carefully. And he played a very good nurse, by the way.
That's sweet.
You could see that from your brother's perspective.
Yeah,
he could be a very good nurse.
Yeah.
Where your younger sister was like,
Go, Dad, hurry up.
just a little differently. So, but she's gotten so much better. She'll constantly ask me how I'm doing and whatever. I'm doing fine, but whatever. And so that was 3 days of hell, and where you're kind of incapacitated in the sense, or at least I was, and the reliance on people is difficult because you don't feel, that happened 10 years ago. So, or maybe longer. I don't remember now, but it's.
I mean, you've had back issues since I was a kid.
Yeah. And for your, again, your grandmother, part of the problem we've had now with her is just that, is the falling. And like I said, there's probably some stats out there that talk about seniors falling is, I think, a primary cause of death. I have had so many people, about the stories about their parents falling and dying. And like I said,
they hit themselves.
They hit themselves, and it's that lack of attention, whatever the circumstance is. Like your grandfather, as an example, when he hit his head, it's because he tripped over a piece of carpet in his apartment.
Yeah,
and I had been bugging him for, I don't know, 3 months to get rid of it,
yeah, it's old, it's dingy.
And he just would not listen. In fact, I took it once, and I think I put it in the garage, and he
pulled it out.
I came back to visit him, and boom, it was out there again. And sure enough, that's why he tripped over that carpet, hit his head, and within a matter of 24 hours, that's what his demise was. And that's some of the concerns we have, obviously, for my mother, your grandmother. Is that she pays attention. So when I walk with her into the doctor's office, I'm always being mindful of that. Watch out for that curve. Watch out for this. Watch out for that. And it's not that she's not aware. It's just that we're in conversation. So she may not be paying attention, and it happens everywhere. I mean, I've tripped over stuff. You've tripped over stuff.
Yeah.
It just does happen. The impact of you falling is going to be great. Is going to be less than an impact of somebody who's much older, where bones are more frail, right?
And it's scary because for my grandfather on my mother's side, who we're very close to, he's a tall man and weighs a good amount, and so for him, it's not necessarily falling; it's just even standing still. He's older than grandma, but I'll be just standing next to him, and then I'll just start seeing, and I'm like, whoa, are you okay? And he just laughs. Anytime he's leaned on me too hard, where I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna fall on me. Right. He just laughs because he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah, it's a little.
He's just like, oh, sorry.
They get a little wobbly,
and he just pretends and just brushes it off. But from my mother's perspective, in the Latino culture, it's you stick it through till the end, till the bitter end, right? You do everything you can to help them, and you keep them going. And she's been committed to that care, essentially her whole life with my grandma before she passed away as well, and takes a lot. Sacrifice feels like an understatement. It
can be coordinated as long as you've got willing participants, and
most of the time you don't.
Yeah, you've got one sibling. You've got a selected group of siblings that are more adapt to it, or more time, or closer in proximity. So I think that's certainly a situation. And then there's the demeanor of the individual, right? So, your aunt, my aunt, I should say, she was a bit, she had a little bit of a cantankerous, a little bit of an edge, I'll say that. But she was the best. She could be difficult.
Yeah.
And so, of course, that and people feel what they feel, but that could be difficult in trying to help them, because they
And
don't want the help or whatever. But my
and
mom's disposition is usually very pleasant and very upbeat. In every conversation, like to this morning, it's the same conversation I had with her as I did 2 days ago. Is how are you guys doing? Has Victoria picked her college yet or her university yet? Where's your son? How come he hasn't gone to the doctor yet? I go, Mother, I don't know. Why don't you call them? And in fact, your grandson's going to call you tomorrow, like he always does.
Yeah.
And your granddaughter, your oldest one, is already moved out. Oh, she didn't tell me she moved out. And so, okay, well, she finally did. And so she's been living in her apartment. And I just told her about your refrigerator that you just got. So these are the stories and the conversations that we have and all that good stuff. Then she'll certainly ask about me and, what am I doing? And, she'll ask about, I don't know, she brought up your mom today too. And I don't remember what the subject line was for, but something to do with not your mom, but your aunt, your Aunt Maria.
Oh,
yeah.
Maria.
Yeah. So,
because of the fires?
no, I had to do with something medical. I don't know exactly. I'm not sure.
Grandma knows everything.
Yeah, she apparently seems to know everything because she talks to you guys and you guys share
Right.
things with her. So
Yeah. I mean, I talk to Grandma about the most random things and we go deep. And then she's telling me about when she was 4 years old in Cuba, walking to school and how great grandma would, put her in dresses with big bows and people would see her from across the way. And I'm like, dang, it's been 3 hours. Holy shit.
It's kind of funny. So this morning I was talking to her and she told me about the podcast, some episode on the podcast. And she said, she said those nuns. And I go, yeah, those nuns. You remember that? Yeah. And then she made a nasty comment. I think she called those bitches.
Yeah, of course.
But
I will say,
my mom can be very direct.
Yeah, but I will say there was a short, hot second where I was such a weird, and I didn't talk about this last episode, but I was somehow, some way getting recruited by the Carmelite sisters.
Oh my God.
That was a whole thing in life. Again, I have a strong love and appreciation for nuns. Anyway.
Okay, whatever.
And when I told her this, she was all gung-ho. So
gung-ho?
Yeah, she was supportive. Anyway.
She's supportive to you.
Grandma supports me in everything.
Not to that group of individuals. No, but it was funny. She made a comment about it because she was listening to one of the episodes and that episode that we were talking about.
Oh my gosh, Grandma listens to our podcast. Yeah, what a queen. Shout out. Love you.
Yeah. So, as we run down this issue with our aging parents, it's tough. It's been tough, and because
there are families that easily just send them to a nursing home, right, and be done with it, right? Like lots of friends of mine and people that I know, that's their grandma's in some random nursing home, and that's it.
I don't know if that's cultural or whatever,
I think
but
it is.
I think from a Latin culture, be it European or even south of our border, it's just not something you do. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's more a Western American thing to do, and I don't know that for certain, but that's what I understand it to be. You just don't send your mother off or your parents off to an old folks home,
mm-hmm. And that's why I say it's with you do it till the very bitter end, where it is a sacrifice in the sense that taking care of your parents, you sacrifice spending time with friends, spending time with your own children sometimes. Sure. In my mom's case, she's had to miss certain things or maybe not be able to tap into her certain goals or certain hobbies because she's with my grandpa, helping him and giving him his medication and stuff, where she doesn't get to nurture her, right?
But your oldest aunt is living with him.
Yeah, and then we talk about incompetent,
care.
Yeah, incompetent care, where certain siblings they don't want to give the same amount. And my mom's 110% constantly, but a lot of her siblings aren't.
That puts enormous pressure on relationships. So if you think about it, right? But again, maybe it's just more the Western or the American, mentality or whatnot to send your parents away, and not to deal with them. I'm not certain, of the dynamics there, but not that we would ever send my mother into a nursing facility. Wouldn't happen. Right?
Oh, she'd come and kill us.
She's economically doesn't need to,
right?
But she just that's just something she would ever do, or what we would ever allow, right?
Right, and I think it's important to say it the economic part that my grandma worked
Oh,
her
yeah.
ass off when she came to this country. And
Smart investor, the whole
thankfully,
thing.
yes.
No, I mean, I think if you've got an extra room in your house, or even if it's a smaller room, that's where you put your parents in. So a lot of that
Oh my
is
God, you're gonna come live with me soon?
no,
Soon.
but that's not the plan. But yeah, so but yeah, that's the way we approached my mother, my sister when she bought that home. It was the intent to have
The guest
a
house.
guest cottage, right? An ADU, I think they call it today. And even with your grandfather, I suggested, you want, then we can build an ADU in the backyard
Of your house.
of my house. And but my father chose that he didn't want to spend the resources to do it. He probably wanted me to do it, but
You couldn't do it at the time.
I was raising too many kids, and 2 mortgages, two different houses, so I wasn't going to happen for me. But I think that I gave him the option. I said, we'll do it. I'll talk to an architect, and he just chose not to. And so he bought a condo. And he lived in that condo for several years, and then we eventually sold it, and he got himself a little apartment not too far away from here, and that's where he lived out his remaining time. But he was he wasn't distance wise, he wasn't far. And again, so your grandmother, on the other hand, when working through where she wanted to be, my sister had talked to her about this home, and sure enough, they had a guest cottage. So it was just a perfect arrangement, and that's I think it's worked out well. My mother went into and did a full remodel.
Yeah, and it's so her. Like the 2 houses at my tia's house versus her house are completely different stylistically, and they work so well separately and together. It's perfect. Yeah. And my grandma has enough closet space for the whole, neighborhood.
Yeah. So my mother's approach was, I'm going to be active and involved in, my future when she retired. And so I think she emphatically wants to do laundry every Thursday. And she's been doing laundry every Thursday for, I don't know,
when
years.
I lived
15,
with my
20 years,
tia for a short time, I lived with my tia for about like 6 to 8 months, which meant that my grandma was right there. And my grandma told me, look, I do laundry here. I know how to do it.
Right.
You leave your stuff. Don't even separate the colors, because I know how to separate colors. Yeah. You're not going to do it. You need a stain removed. You need something. Just leave it here and let me do it. Right. And I'd be like, oh my God, okay.
It's her way of contributing.
Won't get in your way.
It's her way of contributing, giving back, making sure she's being active and whatnot.
And she takes pride in it for sure.
Yeah. So it's the dogs for her laundry day Thursday, her cleaning of her own house, which she likes. She does it all the time. Yeah. Shuffling of papers from one part of the house to another. Me. Her, the marketing, she'll go, I think she goes every Saturday or Sunday with my sister, your aunt, to take care of all the market or the grocery work.
And she'll report to me. Eggs are going up. The water, my milk. What the she'll report to me. Oh my God! Yeah. Like I used to be able to spend $40 at Trader Joe's for the whole week. Yeah. And your mother, your grandmother is a rabid conservative. I mean, she always has been.
There's not a kind word she could say about the current administration that is soon to depart. She's well versed in our current politics. It has been for years. So
I will say, let it be known that for 5 years, I volunteered at the border, dropping life-saving supplies for people on the migrant trail with an organization called Border Kindness. And for 5 years, I did that work, and her and I talked about it constantly, right? She's, what do you, she was constantly worried that something was going to happen to me. And she didn't like that I was carrying so much weight on my back up these mountains and stuff. And there was one time where she told me, look, I don't agree. But, I went to the store the other day, and then she pulled out a bag, and I looked in it. She's tiny. So I looked down pretty far, and there was a bunch of cans in there. And she said, here for your friends. And I looked at her and I hugged her so much, because I'm like, okay, she gets it. She gets, it's not, growing up and learning about politics and trying to find my way and stuff. You always see only the black and white of, oh, this group hates this group and this group completely doesn't understand this and refuses to understand. But I'm like, okay, my grandma can be conservative and can think that things should be done a certain way, but she still has a soul and she still has a heart and she gets me and why I'm doing this.
You know, in the end, the politics set aside when we're talking about human connection or the humanistic side of our world, right? Yeah, she may not view the politics of it all the right way, or you know, where she agrees with what happens, but she still cares about the individuals. From wherever they come from, you know, and nobody wants to be harmed, and that's the way your grandma has always been. So she's always been like that. So
And I didn't know I needed that validation at the time, but I definitely did, looking back. But in terms of you, how do you want to be taken care of, Dad?
But before we get to that, so how do you guys view? Now in reverse, so I've been talking about your grandmother, right? So have you, your brother, and your sister talked about your mother, me, your stepfather?
It's interesting. Every time I talk to my brother, he always asks about you, even though I know you guys talk like every other day, every day.
Every other day.
But he always asks about you and wants to know from my perspective, right?
Because he always says, you never tell me anything.
And
I hide things from him.
Yeah, so. He tells me that too. He's like, how's Dad doing? I know he doesn't, you know, you guys have a different relationship. I'm like, oh my God, brother. Yeah, he always asks me how you're doing, you know, and every time he comes, he tells me, oh my gosh, I feel like Mom and Dad are getting older. Like, I feel like they look more tired and a little bit more like, you know, like they're moving a little slowly. You know, if you're sick or your back hurts, he's like, oh, like, I feel like my brother, just like me, we're a little bit of, we're a couple worry rats for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little bit more logical than him, but I could totally be wrong.
I'm not sure what that means. So.
Whereas if in times of crisis, I feel like I would deal with stuff the way that we need to deal with it.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm thinking, but just in a crisis, and then I would probably break down later because I'm a crier, right? Right? And he's more of like a, oh shit, what do I do? Like kind of stand, like, you know.
Well, no one's dead, so.
No, 100%. But you know, he and I are very emotional children. So, and we're very attached to not just our parents, but the image of our parents in our minds.
Sure. I think I mentioned to you last week, I think I've got a mind of a 14-year-old and a body of, well, not so much.
Yeah, and that's how we see you. We see you as that.
You know, we still horse around, like, you know, I still do that kind of, you know, horse around as if I'm, you know, still a kid, but mentally or physically, of course, obviously we're all slowing down. So.
Yeah, and the other day on Christmas Day, I was able to spend it with my mom and the Filipino family, and you know, my boyfriend was there, and I told my mom, carry me, because that's what she used to do when we were growing. Even when I was like 13, 14, she would carry me. I don't think her knees would allow it. She fucking did. She did, and I was like, heck yes, because I wanted Jacob, my partner, to see that my mom could still carry me. And, you know, bless my mom for being like, okay, I guess. But I'm like, dude, you don't understand how important this is, that we can still do this, right?
No way.
And even last night when I saw my mom, you know, I see her, and maybe in the past, this is something that Gianni, my brother, would comment on, is that, oh my God, my mom's always eating soup. Yeah. Like, she's so, what a friggin', like, abuelita, she's always eating soup. And like, she can't pick anything else off the menu. And she almost got a soup yesterday. And I thought to myself, oh, this is the time to like make that funny comment. But I'm like, no, if my mom wants soup, the woman should get some, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. You brought up old age, right? As far as it relates to me and stuff. So, you know, as I think about the next 20 years, right? The perspective for me is that I'd probably live well into my 90s, because everybody on my father's side, lived well past 95, you know? And again, your grandfather would have been here probably still. But I think from the aspect of retirement, right? You know, we talk about it, myself and my girlfriend, how we want to exist after retirement, and she's all about being active. Does not want to be in front of a television. Wants to be out talking to people, interacting, and yoga and everything to keep active. You know, hers is a more cautious approach, where she wants to ensure that she's got a place where people can come and help when you can't do it anymore, like changing a light bulb or bringing you food or taking you to your doctor's appointments. And so she's actually brought up, this, senior community living.
Oh, really?
I think we looked at something. Maybe I shared it with her. Something about the villages in Florida, right? I couldn't see myself living in a senior community or senior kind of housing where you're playing shuffleboard or you're going to bingo and
honestly sounds so fun.
You're going to the communal cafeteria to eat at 3:30. It's like I can't. I couldn't do it. But she would love to do that. Being a 1-bedroom with a small little kind of family kitchenette, whatever, and then everything else would be part of the community. She would love that kind of stuff because she thinks that it's more conducive to being less of a burden on children. On children. So when I see myself, and she'll ask me, have you considered end of life care? I'm going, no, because why? I'm not going to. I mean,
I'm 36.
I'm not that, but it's that mindset where she will think about those kinds of things. Me, nowhere. I'm not even there. Yeah. So I can't think about it. So,
and I will say, Gianni and I don't think we're. And I mean, I would say my sister Victoria as well, but she's a little too young for, I think, these types of conversations. But my brother and I, we talk about it from time to time. I think the biggest thing that he and I have decided is that, once we start having children and you guys start getting a little bit older, we want to be in the same state. However the hell that's going to happen, that's a big concern for us, is that we want to be near each other.
Sure. So some of those, in that same light or that same vein, as we think about retirement, right? We looked at a couple of next gen homes. Next gen homes are the ones where not much different than what, having a guest cottage in the backyard or an ADU or whatever. But these homes are basically 2 homes under one roof where you have separate entrances and that kind of stuff. So you have kind of like a little small flat for your aging parent. And then you have the bigger house for the other party, right? So, I've considered something like that because obviously you want to consolidate, you want to lower your footprint. And that's my mindset. I want to have less space to clean, to deal with. A lot of work, so those are the kinds of things that I know that myself and my girlfriend have been talking about, and as well, I've shared it with your brother, and I know I've shared it with you. Is just that. That's probably the route that I'll go. Is something similar to that. If not that, it'll be some small condo. Probably not in California. So
that's the only hard part for sure.
Yeah. So in old age, that's kind of the mindset that you have to start thinking about it now. Because the impact will be here before I know it. And
it's difficult because, we think about work and time capacity. And, I know Gianni and his partner want more than one child, right? My partner's family he also grew up in a divorced family. So, he's got his father and his wife, and then he has his mother, and the grandparents are still young.
Right.
So it's like there's so many people like kind of revolving around, in the family. And then it's like, then there's us, right? What do we want? Do we want to invest here? Do we want to move out of state? There's lots of stuff to consider.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's one of the things that we all, my mother talks about it. I talk about it. The cost of living is an important part of, when you're in retirement, you got to be able to afford to live, whether it's a mortgage or rent, and then the take food, care of, and then how does transportation play into this? So I have a fairly big car now. Do I need that? Do I need a small commuter? I mean, these are the things you think about. Yeah. Do we need 3 cars? Do we need 2 cars? These are all.
Or should I just get my Porsche GT3 RS?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm taking donations for that, by the way. So these are the things that you think about as you start getting into those years of retirement, which is coming up hard fast. So, decisions are being made and conversations, certainly I should say, this conversations being had and then decisions will be made. But,
and I mean, I've had, started to have these.
I'm not going to be put in an old person's home.
Oh, no. Sure, and I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that at all. And I'm pretty sure my siblings are on the same page as me. I won't speak for them though, but
The
you know,
girlfriend wouldn't mind it, but
well,
not
because
me.
she's a social butterfly, and she
Yeah.
would totally thrive in that. And
She
you'd
would.
you'd probably just be in the house, like,
She'd be teaching the yoga, and
right.
it's like, what the hell? So no.
But I've talked to my Thea, your sister, about she doesn't have children. I told her, Thea, I'm gonna take care of you. Don't even worry about it. And she's like, well, you better write that in blood, girl, because I'm gonna need that help. And I told her, yes, 100%. So, there's a lot kind of up in the air, and I'm thankful that I have my my siblings kind of for that extra support.
Sure.
And that both of my parents, thank God, have partners, right?
Well,
that they're not alone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, my mother will live to 120, and
Hopefully, yes.
we all hope that, and
hopefully you will too.
I'm not sure about me, but
hopefully
my
you
mom,
will too.
my mom, if you know anything, she'll say it's like, I don't want to live that far.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go now. It's
Please,
like, well,
God.
Okay, crazy. So, but no.
Even you're turning 60 this year.
Coming year, yeah.
This year, 2025.
Yeah.
Which is such a trip, and it's an emotional thing. And I keep telling you, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna celebrate you? But it's interesting as and my mom this year turns 55 as well, so a pretty big year for both of you guys.
Sure.
And a lot to reflect on for sure. But I think we need to just celebrate more and have more joy in the family
time. Yeah. It's funny. You getting older doesn't you feel it when you're on vacations and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, I can't walk that much. I'm tired.
That far,
And you get done. I remember coming from a full day of being out and about in Japan. It was like I was tired. And my girlfriend was tired.
Outside too.
It was hot, and we had done a lot. We had walked and walked. I can't tell how many miles, but we were tired, And do you want to go to dinner? He goes, no.
Just want to eat snacks in bed.
Again, getting older is certainly part of life, and
But I will say, from a child's perspective, it is a privilege to to have parents that have partners. You guys kind of got that second chance, and thankfully your partners are so dependable. Like my stepdad, your partner, like I have the relief that I feel and the blessing is that thankfully you guys are gonna have someone to grow old with, essentially.
Right.
I think that's very important.
Yeah, it's getting old is tough, and the benefit of it is just you can share the wisdom, and it's sad to see your parents aging, and the transitions of life. It's unfortunately it's part of life, so it is what it is.
And I know I have like a lot of growing to do in the sense that I think as the child that is, or I feel like, I mean, you think my brother is more sensitive than I am, but oh my God, when we're in the same room together, it's like we have a ball because we're just very, emotional kids. Our emotional awareness is very strong and very high. And I think that's a gift in a lot of ways. But, when you think about, okay, Thea will make jokes like, oh God, if your dad dies, good luck, because you kids are going to be a freaking mess. You are not going to know what to do with yourselves. And I'm like, she's probably right. So how can I, learn and continue to grow so I can be willing to accept all of life's kind of, grandma falling. How do I not, cry all day about it when she's like, calm down. Everything's fine.
That's exactly it. Level, it's part of life, and unfortunately, you have to deal with some of those. We talked about it last week. Some of the downsides and the upsides. Life is life, and unfortunately, we're here, we live, and then we're gone. So. Yeah,
and I think my grandma's sister, bless her soul, when she was here, I would tell her all the time, Thea, what am I going to do without you? Like, I need you. And she's like, girl, you don't need me. Like, I don't want to be here. I've been praying to God every day for him to take me, and he won't listen to me. And just, again, to talk about that edginess of her. And I'd be holding back tears and trying to explain to her how much she means to me. She's like, oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry. Like, I'm always here.
It's the wisdom of parents, I suppose.
Yeah. But it's just...
Yeah, so good conversation. Just again, we're all getting older. No way around it. So, what's next on our agenda?
Our question for the episode. I'd written this down previously, and I think it's it can be funny, it can be serious, but
Okay.
it was, what was the best, most recent advice that grandma had given you about something? Maybe it was something, I don't know if you tell her about things that you're going through personally,
Sure.
or like, I don't know if grandma knows that you go to therapy and stuff. Like, I want to know what kind of love and like assistance she gives you, because she's constantly like
Right.
my little
Right.
bird on my shoulder.
Yeah.
So
Your grandmother, different generations. So certainly the level of affection, verbal affection, it wasn't always there because it's just a different generation. But your grandmother constantly is telling me that things are always going to be okay, and be patient.
does she tell you to be strong?
No, be patient.
Oh my God, that's her thing for
Be
me.
patient. No, she doesn't say strong. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'll tell her. I calmed her down this morning, and she's not listening to her own advice that she gives me.
Of course.
Right. So
we never do that.
yeah. So I think your grandmother constantly indicates, be patient. And then she'll say something about your sister, and she needs to be patient, or patient is a big word for her. She seems to say that a lot. So
Interesting.
yeah. So no, I think your grandmother over the years has been. We share. I think that's true. I probably share on a limited basis with her, because I don't want to worry her, whether it's about you guys, whether it's about me, or whatever. And I think your aunt and my brother, my siblings, we do the same thing. We just don't, unless it's pressing, and meaning there's an urgency to it, we'll share it with her. Otherwise, we'll wait weeks
until there's a resolution.
There's a resolution to so that we don't have to burden her with any negative thoughts, because she'll then worry about it, and she'll call, and then she'll call. So we try to lighten that burden for her, but generally the core of her advice is always that she's always asking how I'm doing, how my girlfriend's doing, how all three of my children are doing. And she'll ask, did Gianni go to the doctor?
Details.
Did you do this? And so I'll share with her some news or updates and stuff, and then she'll get mad at me that I'm not pressing you guys
for more info.
But then in the end, again, circling back to me, I think what she does with both myself and my sister is more so, be patient. Everything's going to work out. She'll take that positive approach to things. Everything's going to work out. And then she'll throw in a little politics into it that, I understand everything's so damn expensive, But
she does that too with me.
But generally, everything's very positive with her. She tries to make sure that she expresses the positivity of life. Yeah, so that's her. So, yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's good stuff.
She does the same for me in a different kind of recipe, but I want to share that, the next couple episodes we want to talk a little bit more about her and her story, and kind of how this family came to be in this country, and why we have all the gifts that we do.
Sure.
So that's something we can definitely look forward to.
Absolutely. All right, folks, thank you for listening to us, Life in the Bit of Truth. You can see us on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. And on YouTube, subscribe.
All the things
necessary. We appreciate that. Leave comments on all the other podcast platforms as well, and YouTube.
And let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you think. So we appreciate you, and